what do we know in terms of the response to the final draft guidance on flavors?
Yeah, great question. So we talked a bit about that today. The draft guidance is still a draft, right? And so what's really important is for companies to submit comments, which are actually due by May 11th. And today at the symposium, we discussed what are the key issues for stakeholders to note in their comments, such as how flavored product, how the data supports flavored products are critical to helping adult smokers transition away from cigarettes. We talked about how it's important to submit comments about the need for FDA to go through a proper rulemaking process and to establish actual product standards. Because what FDA is doing here with their flavor guidance is they've created essentially a product standard by identifying certain flavors as being more or less risky than others, right? And they're doubling down of this comparative efficacy study requirement, which we've argued in litigation in pending lawsuits, that really is a tobacco product standard. And the way that FDA needs to do this is really go through rulemaking as required by the APA.
Tell us about the event. What's going on?
Yeah, no, this is our 10th annual e-vapor, nicotine, and tobacco law symposium. We have a great audience here of industry experts, stakeholders, businesses, small businesses, large businesses. And like every year, our focus is on compliance and regulation. And so we are providing a soup to nuts conference that helps companies understand, what the law is, what the new laws are, both at the federal, state, and international level.
Why is it important to have an event like this?
Well, education is key, right? We want the industry to understand how to comply, right? Because it is such a complex environment. And this is our 10th annual conference, and we started up 10 years ago. The industry has only gotten more complex. The laws have just gotten more complex, more difficult to understand, and for companies to get through and be compliant. And so what we do here is really both on the legal and scientific side, try to provide that kind of guidance to companies.
Do companies end up with a better shot of getting authorization if they've been through this process here?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's our goal here, is we're trying to make sure the companies have the opportunity to not only learn from us through this program, but network and meet the experts, right? So we have a number of experts and scientists and folks from around the industry, not just Keller and Heckman experts, but industry experts who are here to meet with companies. And so the goal here is for everyone to leave the symposium with more capabilities and more possible opportunity to get through the PMTA process.
But I've been a bit concerned that there's a language creep going on, and that's the FDA is framing the continuum of risk as, tobacco flavored to mango, and the continuum of risk is becoming a flavor issue, when that's really not what the continuum of risk is.
No, that's a great way of putting it, is that FDA is essentially creating a new continuum of flavor profiles. And I would argue that it's not quite clear that is supported by the data, by the science, because it's the adults who are using the mango flavors that are helping them quit. And everyone's preference for flavors and everyone's ability to switch is really very specific to that person, right? And so these broad sweeping categories of flavors, again, something that FDA should properly assess through a rulemaking process based on the science. And right now, I don't think it really is, we have the data to support that.
Do you guys get into contentious issues here?
Oh, absolutely. We don't hold back, right? We want the companies to understand the good and the bad. So what is the industry doing wrong? I mean, in this industry, there are a lot of bad actors, right? There are things that companies have done to put themselves in a position to be enforced. So we are trying to promote good faith compliance and good faith enforcement from the agency as well.
So what can viewers expect in our interviews coming up? Because who's going to be.
Yeah. No, I think the folks you will be interviewing over the next couple of days are leaders in this space. They are knowledgeable. They are the thought leaders. They are the ones who are on the ground working with companies, helping companies figure out the process, strategize, and comply. And so I think we've selected an awesome group of representative speakers here and to be interviewed by you. And I think getting the word out about who these folks are is just going to help more companies hopefully comply.